Welcome back. Today, we're zooming in on one of the smallest US coins with some of the biggest surprises, the $1 dime. From the silver Mercury dimes to rare Roosevelt errors, these tiny coins pack a punch in both history and value. Stay tuned. That little dime in your change might just be worth a whole lot more than 10 cents. The 1967 1 dime coin from Canada is part of the special Centennial Series issued to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Canadian Confederation. These coins were distinct from regular issues because they featured unique reverse designs representing Canadian wildlife instead of the standard motifs. The 1967 Canadian dime features a mackerel, a fish commonly found in Canadian waters, as a symbol of Canada's fishing industry and maritime heritage. This design was created by Canadian artist Alex Colville and was part of a complete redesign for all denominations that year. On the obverse of the coin is the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, as sculpted by Arnold Machen. The portrait shows the Queen facing right, wearing a tiara. Surrounding her image is the legend Elizabeth to D.G. Regina, which is Latin for Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. The detailing of the tiara, hair, and facial features tends to wear down in circulated examples, though the profile usually remains distinct. Coins from this era were produced with a strong strike. So many features are still discernible even after years in circulation. The reverse of the 1967 dime is simple and elegant, featuring a detailed image of a mackerel swimming to the left, with the word Canada and the date 1967 placed above and below the fish, respectively. The denomination 10 cents is inscribed at the bottom. The overall design is balanced and symbolic of the country's connection to the sea. In circulated condition, some of the finer lines of the fish's scales or fins may be worn or less sharp, but the design typically remains identifiable and appealing. This coin was struck into main compositions early in the year. Dimes were made from 80% silver and 20% copper. Later, a shift was made to a 50% silver and 50% copper alloy due to rising silver prices. Both versions have the same diameter of 18.03 millimeters and weigh approximately to 0.33 grams. While there is no mint mark to distinguish the two compositions, a specific gravity test or professional assessment can determine the silver content if needed. Collectors often seek both compositions, especially in better preserved examples, because this coin was part of a significant national celebration. It holds historical value beyond its face value. The 1967 Centennial Series remains popular among collectors both in Canada and internationally. The dime, though small, carries part of the artistic and commemorative vision that defined the set. The unique use of Canadian animals for each denomination makes the 1967 set stand out in the history of Canadian coinage. In circulated condition, the 1967 dime usually has limited numismatic value due to its high mintage and common availability, but its silver content often gives it a value higher than face. The actual value depends on silver market prices and the specific silver composition of the coin. For those interested in collecting by type or theme, the Centennial Series offers a rewarding focus, particularly when all denominations are assembled together. Handling circulated coins like this one with care is important to preserve remaining details. It's best to store the coin in a holder or album pocket, avoiding direct contact with fingers to prevent further wear or exposure to skin oils. Keeping it in a dry environment also helps protect it from tarnish or additional surface deterioration, despite being a circulated piece. This 1967 dime remains a meaningful representation of Canada's centennial celebration and a piece of its numismatic heritage. Its artistic reverse and commemorative purpose give it a character that transcends its small size. Whether kept as part of a complete centennial set, a silver coin collection, or as a single piece of national memory, it continues to hold historical and collector interest.
Next up we have
the 1968 Canadian 1 dime coin stands out in the nation's numismatic history due to a major transition that took place that year. This was the first year Canada moved away from silver content in its dimes and adopted nickel for general circulation. Coinage, as such, 1968 dimes exist into metal varieties 50% silver and 50% copper alloy for part of the year, and pure nickel for the rest. Both varieties share the same design, but the change in composition was significant both economically and in terms of collectability. The obverse features the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machen. This portrait, used from 1965 to 1989, depicts the Queen wearing a tiara and facing right. The inscription reads Elizabeth to D.G. Regina, which translates from Latin to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. On coins in good condition, the Queen's profile, tiara detail, and hair curls are still visible with moderate wear. The remand inscription often show light signs of circulation, but most key design features are typically preserved. On the reverse of the 1968 dime, it's the traditional image of the Bluenose schooner, a celebrated Canadian racing and fishing vessel that symbolizes national pride and maritime heritage. The design was created by artist Emmanuel Hahn and has appeared on Canadian dimes since 1937. On a well-preserved 1968 dime, the schooner's sails, rigging, and hull should still be visible with minimal smoothing, although finer lines may be slightly worn. The words Canada, 10 cents, and the date 1968 appear around the edge of the reverse. The font remains legible even after moderate use in commerce. One of the most interesting features of the 1968 Canadian dime is its metal composition. Dimes produced early in the year were made from 50% silver and 50% copper. Later, the Royal Canadian Mint switched to pure nickel coins. The two types are indistinguishable by appearance alone, as both have the same size, 18.03 millimeters, and weight about 2.33 grams, but they can be differentiated by a magnet. Nickel coins are magnetic, while silver ones are not. This makes the 1968 dime a frequent target for collectors looking to determine whether their coin has intrinsic silver value. Because of this composition difference, the silver 1968 dimes tend to be more desirable for collectors and investors interested in silver content. In good condition, the silver version often carries a premium above face value, primarily driven by silver market prices. The nickel variety, while common and not particularly valuable in circulated grades, still holds interest for those assembling a complete typeset or following the evolution of Canadian coinage materials. The condition described as good typically means the coin has been in circulation but still retains clear details on both sides. While there may be minor surface scratches, worn areas, and a lack of mint luster, the major features like the Queen's portrait and the Bluenose schooner remain identifiable. For collectors, this level of preservation is acceptable for filling a spot in a circulated coin set, especially for common date coins like this. Storing a 1968 Canadian dime in good condition should involve keeping it in a non-PVC plastic coin holder, album, or a soft, acid-free envelope. Avoiding excessive handling or exposure to humidity and direct sunlight will help maintain its current state. If the coin is suspected to be silver, it might be worthwhile to conduct a magnet test or consult a professional to confirm its composition. Especially if silver prices are high. In terms of historical context, the move from silver to nickel in 1968 was driven by rising silver costs and the need for more durable and cost-effective coinage materials. This mirrored similar changes in other countries during the mid-20th century. For Canadian coin collectors, 1968 represents a dividing line between precious metal content and modern base metal coinage. As a result, coins from this year offer a unique opportunity to explore both sides of that transition. Owning a 1968 dime in good condition provides a connection to a moment of change in Canadian monetary policy, as well as a continuation of the country's rich maritime symbolism through the Bluenose design. Whether held as part of a broader Canadian coin collection, a date set, or simply as a personal keepsake, the 1968 Canadian dime remains a small but meaningful piece of numismatic history.
Next up we have
The 1966 Canadian one-dime coin is a notable piece of mid-20th century Canadian currency, both for its design and its composition. Issued just before a major change in Canadian coinage metals, the 1966 dime is composed of 80% silver and 20% copper, making it one of the last dimes struck with a high silver content before Canada transitioned to lower silver and eventually nickel coins. Its silver composition makes it of particular interest not only to coin collectors, but also to investors in precious metals. The obverse of the coin features the second effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, created by artist Arnold Machen. This portrait depicts the Queen wearing a tiara, facing right. The inscription around the portrait reads Elizabeth to D.G. Regina, which stands for Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, in good condition. The Queen's profile is clearly defined, though there may be moderate wear on the facial features and the tiara. The edge of the coin and lettering may show slight softening from circulation, but all text should remain legible. The reverse design continues the long-standing tradition of featuring the Bluenose schooner, a famous Canadian racing and fishing vessel that has become a national symbol. Designed by artist Emmanuel Hahn, the image of the Bluenose under full sail captures a sense of motion and pride. The words Canada, 10 cents, and the date 1966 are positioned around the schooner. On a coin in good condition, the outline of the ship, its sails, and rigging remain distinct, though finer lines and detailing may be somewhat worn from circulation. The date and denomination are still clearly readable. The 1966 dime has a diameter of 18.03 millimeters and weighs approximately to 0.33 grams. Its reeded milled edge helps distinguish it from other denominations and provides a tactile feature often used for quality and authenticity checks. Its silver content is the most valuable characteristic for many, especially given the rising interest in silver investing. With 80% silver, each 1966 dime contains approximately 0.06 troy ounces of silver, which can influence its market value. Depending on the current price of the metal. In good condition, the coin has likely circulated widely, but still retains enough detail for easy identification. There may be small surface marks, light scratches, or minor dulling of the silver luster, but the coin remains structurally sound and visually appealing. Coins from this year are common enough that good condition examples are relatively easy to find, but their silver content ensures they are valued higher than their face value, particularly when silver prices are strong. The 1966 dime holds additional historical interest as it comes from the period just before major changes in Canadian coinage began. In 1967, Canada marked its centennial year with special wildlife-themed designs, and in 1968, the Royal Canadian Mint shifted from 80% silver to 50% silver dimes for part of the year before transitioning fully to nickel later that same year. As such, the 1966 dime represents the end of an era, one of the final years of high silver content circulating coins in Canada. Proper care for a 1966 silver dime involves storing it in a dry, stable environment. A non-PVC flip or coin capsule is ideal for long-term storage, as it will prevent exposure to air, moisture, and potential chemical reactions that can tarnish the silver. While tarnishing doesn't always reduce a coin's numismatic value, it can impact its aesthetic appeal. Collectors of Canadian coinage may seek out the 1966 dime, part of a complete date set, or as a key example of pre-1967 silver coinage. It is also commonly found in silver bullion collections where coins are valued for their metal content rather than rarity or numismatic detail. Nonetheless, for enthusiasts who appreciate the artistry and symbolism of the Bluenose schooner and the portrait of a young Queen Elizabeth II, this dime has more than just silver to offer. In summary, the 1966 Canadian dime in good condition is a solid example of classic Canadian coin design and mid-century minting standards. With its high silver content, attractive and historically significant imagery, and place in the timeline of Canadian coinage, it remains a desirable piece for collectors and investors alike.
Next up we have
The 1991 P1 dime coin from the United States is a 10-cent piece struck by the Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the P Mint mark. This coin belongs to the Roosevelt Dimes series, which began in 1946 and continues to the present day. The Roosevelt dime honors President Franklin D. Roosevelt, chosen for his leadership and his connection to the March of Dimes campaign that helped fight polio. On the obverse of the 1991 P dime is a left-facing portrait of President Roosevelt, designed by John Arsenic. The inscription "Liberty" appears to the left of his profile, while the motto "In God We Trust" is positioned just below the chin. The date 1991 is placed to the right, below the neckline, with the P Mint mark just above the date, confirming it was minted in Philadelphia. In good condition, most of the facial details, hairlines, and inscriptions are visible, though light wear may soften the higher points. Any scratches from circulation are typically light, not obscuring major design elements. The reverse features an olive branch, a torch, and an oak branch, symbolizing peace, liberty, and strength respectively. These three elements are arranged vertically, with the torch in the center. Above the image is the inscription "United States of America." Well below it reads "1 dime." The motto "E pluribus unum" is tucked in between the branches, written in small capital letters. In a well-preserved example, the torch lines and flame remain visible, and the text should be readable with minimal surface wear. The 1991 P dime is composed of a clad composition of 91.67% copper, the 8.33% nickel over a pure copper core. It has a standard diameter of 17.91 millimeters and weighs to 0.7 grams. Its edge is reeded, a design feature originally added to deter coin shaving, and now serving mostly as a distinguishing tactile element. This coin is part of the regular U.S. circulating coinage and is not rare. Millions of 1991 P dimes were produced, making them widely available. In good condition, it holds its face value for everyday use, but it may also be of interest to date. Collectors, those assembling complete year sets, or individuals who collect examples of each mint mark and variation. Though not considered collectible in circulated or good condition from a numismatic perspective, the coin still provides historical and design interest. The Roosevelt Dimes series remains one of the longest-running continuous U.S. coin designs, and the consistency of its appearance over the decades gives collectors a sense of continuity and connection to mid-20th century history. This specific coin, being from the early 1990s, represents a period when the Philadelphia Mint resumed using the P Mint mark on dimes, which became standard practice beginning in 1980. Prior to that year, Philadelphia coins usually bore no mint mark. This makes mint-marked coins like the 1991 P important for understanding changes in minting practices and coin identification. For storage and preservation, keeping the coin in a non-PVC flip or coin album can help protect it from further environmental damage. Even though the clad composition resists tarnishing more effectively than older silver coins, exposure to oils, humidity, and dirt can still degrade surface quality over time. Circulated dimes like this one may show minor nicks or a loss of original mint luster, but they often retain a great deal of detail that makes them appealing for casual collectors or educational purposes. In terms of monetary value, the 1991 P dime in good condition remains a common coin, typically worth its face value. Only uncirculated or proof examples would attract collector premiums. However, it is a meaningful piece within the broader Roosevelt Dimes series and offers a snapshot of American coinage in the early 1990s.